This is one of the last sections in the ancient China dynasties. It's going to be pages 528 through 534. It's a little bit longer, and again, pay attention to the text features, beginning with the Mongol Empire. Among the nomadic peoples who attacked the Chinese were the Mongols. For centuries, the Mongols had lived as tribes in the vast plains north of China. Then in 1206, a strong leader, or Khan, united them. His name was Temujin. When he became leader, though, he was given a new title, Universal Ruler, or Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan organized the Mongols into a powerful army and led them on bloody expeditions of conquest. The brutality of the Mongol attacks terrorized people throughout much of Asia and Eastern Europe. Genghis Khan and his army killed all of the men, women, and children in countless cities and villages within 20 years. He ruled a large part of Asia. Genghis Khan then turned his attention to China. He first led his armies into northern China in 1211 Common Era. They fought their way south, wrecking whole towns and ruining farmland. By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, all of northern China was under Mongol control. The Mongol conquest did not end with Genghis Khan's death, though. His sons and grandsons continued to raid lands all over Asia and Eastern Europe. The destruction the Mongols left behind was terrible. As one Russian chronicler noted, there used to be the city of Ryazan in the land of Ryazan, but its wealth and glory ceased, and there is nothing to be seen in the city excepting smoke, ashes, and barren earth. In 1260, Genghis Khan's grandson Kublai Khan became ruler of the Mongol Empire. He completed the conquest of China and in 1279 declared himself emperor of China. This began the Yuan dynasty, a period that some people also called the Mongol ascendancy. For the first time in its long history, foreigners ruled all of China. Kublai Khan and the Mongol rulers he led belonged to a different ethnic group than the Chinese did. They spoke a different language, worshipped different gods, wore different clothing, and had different customs. The Chinese resented being ruled by these foreigners whom they saw as rude and uncivilized. However, Kublai Khan did not force the Chinese to accept Mongol ways of life. Some Mongols even adopted aspects of Chinese culture, such as Confucianism. Still, the Mongols made sure to keep control of the Chinese. They prohibited Confucian scholars from gaining too much power in government, for example. The Mongols also placed heavy taxes on the Chinese. Much of the tax money the Mongols collected went to pay for vast public work projects. These projects required the labor of many Chinese people. The Yuan added to the Grand Canal and built new roads and palaces. Workers also improved the roads used by China's postal system. In addition, the Yuan emperors built a new capital, Dadu, which is near modern Beijing. Mongol soldiers were sent throughout China to keep the peace as well as keep a close watch on the Chinese. The soldiers' presence kept overland trade routes safe for merchants. Sea trade between China, India, and Southeast Asia continued too. The Mongol emperors also welcomed foreign traders at Chinese ports. Some of these traders received special privileges. Part of what we know about the life in the Yuan dynasty comes from one such trader, an Italian merchant named Marco Polo. Between 1271 and 1295, he traveled in and around China. Polo was highly respected by the Mongols and even served in Kublai Khan's court. When Polo returned to Europe, he wrote of his travels. Polo's descriptions of China fascinated many Europeans. His books his books sparked much European interest in China. Despite their vast empire, the Mongols were not content with their land. They decided to invade Japan. A Mongol army sailed to Japan in 1274 and 1281. The campaigns, however, were disastrous. Violent storms and fierce defenders destroyed most of the Mongol force. The failed campaigns against Japan weakened the Mongol military. The huge, expensive public works projects had already weakened the economy. These weaknesses, combined with the Chinese resentment, made China ripe for rebellion. In the 1300s, many Chinese groups rebelled against the Yuan dynasty. In 1368, a former monk named Zhu Yuan Zhang took charge of a rebel army. He led his army in a final victory over the Mongols. China was once again ruled by the Chinese. After his army defeated the Mongols, Zhu Yuanzhang became emperor of China. The Ming dynasty that he founded ruled China from 1368 to 1644, nearly 300 years. Ming China proved to be one of the most stable and prosperous times in Chinese history. The Ming expanded China's fame overseas and sponsored incredible building projects across China. During the Ming Dynasty, the Chinese improved their ships and their sailing skills. The greatest sailor of the period was Zheng He. Between 1405 and 1433, he led 7 grand voyages to places around Asia. Zheng He's fleets were huge. One included more than 60 ships and 25,000 sailors. Some of the ships were gigantic, too, perhaps more than 300 feet long, and that is longer than a football field. In the course of his voyages, Zheng He sailed his fleet throughout the Indian Ocean. He sailed as far west as the Persian Gulf and the easternmost coast of Africa. Everywhere his ships landed, Zheng Yi presented leaders with beautiful gifts from China. He boasted about his country and encouraged foreign leaders to send gifts to China's emperor. From one voyage, Zheng Yi returned to China with representatives of some 30 nations. Sent by their leaders to honor the emperor, he also brought goods and stories back to China. Zheng Yi's voyages rank among the most impressive in history of seafaring, although they did not lead to the creation of new trade routes or the exploration of new lands. They served as a clear sign of China's power. The Ming were also known for their grand building projects. Many of these projects were designed to impress both the Chinese people and their enemies to the north. In Beijing, for example, the Ming emperors built the Forbidden City, a huge palace complex that included hundreds of imperial residence, temples, and other government buildings. Within them were some 9,000 rooms. The name Forbidden City came from the fact that the common people were not even allowed to enter the complex. For centuries, this city within a city was a symbol of China's glory. Ming rulers also directed the restoration of the famous Great Wall of China. Large numbers of soldiers and peasants worked to rebuild fallen portions of the wall, connect existing walls, and build new ones. The result was a construction feat unmatched in history. The wall was more than 2,000 miles long. It would reach from San Diego to New York. The wall was about 25 feet high and at the top 12 feet wide. Protected by the wall and the soldiers who stood guard along it, the Chinese people felt safe from invasions by northern tribes. During the Ming Dynasty, Chinese society began to change. The change was largely due to the efforts of the Ming emperors. Having expelled the Mongols, the Ming emperors worked to eliminate all foreign influences from Chinese society. As a result, China's government and relations with other countries changed dramatically. When the Ming took over China, they adopted many government programs that had been created by the Tang and the Sung. However, the Ming emperors were much more powerful than the Tang and Sung emperors had been. They abolished the offices of some powerful officials and took a larger role in running the government themselves. These emperors fiercely protected their power, and they punished anyone whom they saw as challenging their authority. Despite their personal power, though, the Ming did not disband the civil service system because he personally oversaw the entire government. The emperor needed officials to keep his affairs organized. The Ming also used examinations to appoint censors. These officials were sent all over China to investigate the behavior of local leaders and to judge the quality of schools and other institutions. Censors had existed for many years in China, but under the Ming emperors, their power and influence grew. In the 1430s, a new Ming emperor made Zheng He return to China and dismantle his fleet. At the same time, he banned foreign trade. China entered a period of isolationism, which is a policy of avoiding contact with other countries. In the end, this isolationism had great consequences for China. By the late 1800s, the Western world had made huge leaps in technological progress. Westerners were able to take power in some parts of China partly due to its isolation and lack of progress. China was too weak to stop them. Gradually, China's glory faded.